Hi everyone. Now we are going to discuss about beta oxidation of fatty acids. Lipids are frequently used by microorganisms as energy sources, and these fatty acids from triglycerols and other lipids are often oxidized in the beta oxidation pathway after conversion to coenzyme A esters. Okay, so let's see how can we define this beta oxidation of fatty acids and what are the steps involved in this process. So the beta oxidation of fatty acids may be defined as the oxidation of fatty acids on beta carbon. In the structure of the fatty acids, we are going to have alpha carbon, beta carbon like this. So the oxidation of fatty acids are going to occur at the beta carbon. So obviously we call it as beta oxidation of fatty acids. And the resultant of this is going to be the sequential removal of two carbon fragments, that is acetyl-CoA. So that means in the beta oxidation pathway, the primary pathway which is of fatty acid metabolism is the process in which two carbons of fatty acids are split off at a time. Okay, so the beta oxidation pathway is the primary pathway of fatty acid metabolism, is a process in which two carbons of fatty acids are split off at a time. What is the two carbon fragment? It is acetyl-CoA. The Franz group proposed that fatty acids are degraded by oxidation of the beta carbon. But surprisingly, it took off nearly 50 years to confirm Knoop's hypothesis. Okay, and the fatty acids in the body are mostly oxidized by the beta oxidation process. And these fatty acids are oxidized by most of the tissues in the body, that means in all the tissues of the body except brain, RBC, that is red blood cells, and adrenal medulla. Except these parts, the other body tissues are going to have this fatty acid oxidation. And the fatty acid oxidation in prokaryotes, it is going to occur in the cytoplasm, and in the eukaryotes, it is occurring in the mitochondria. Why they are occurring in those places only means the enzymes that are essential for this beta oxidation of fatty acids are going to occur in that concerned parts or areas. For example, the enzymes that are required for beta oxidation of fatty acids occur in cytoplasm in prokaryotes. In the same manner, the enzymes that are essential for the beta oxidation of fatty acids occur in mitochondria in the eukaryotes. So that's how this beta oxidation of fatty acids occurs in those regions in the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Let's see what is the process or the stages that occur in this beta oxidation of fatty acids. Coming to the stages in beta oxidation of fatty acids, we are having the three stages. The first one is going to be activation of fatty acids occurring in the cytosol, then transport of fatty acids into mitochondria, and the third one is the beta oxidation proper in the mitochondrial matrix. So we majorly discussing about the eukaryotic, that means in the beta oxidation of fatty acids that are occurring in the eukaryotic organisms. Okay. Let's see the first stage, that is activation of fatty acids occurring in the cytosol. The fatty acids are going to be activated to acyl-CoA by the enzyme called as thiokinases or acyl-CoA synthetases. Thiokinases or acyl-CoA synthetases. That means the fatty acids are going to be converted into acyl-CoA. So during this process, it is going to have the two stages or two steps. In the first step, the fatty acids reacts with the ATP to form acyl adenylate in the presence of magnesium ions. Okay, and the enzyme involved here is a thiokinases. Now in the second step, the acyl adenylate combines with an enzyme called as coenzyme A to produce acyl-CoA. And in the total process of activation of fatty acid, two high energy phosphates are utilized, since ATP is converted into the pyrophosphate. That means ATP is going to be converted into ADP, and this ADP is again going to converted into the AMP. So that's how in the activation of fatty acid, two high energy phosphates are utilized. Okay. So now our fatty acid got activated. So that's why this step is going to be called as activation of fatty acids occurring in the cytosol. Now the rest of the beta oxidation of fatty acids is going to occur in the mitochondrial matrix. So the activation of fatty acid is present in the cytoplasm, and this have to go inside the mitochondrial matrix because the rest of the enzymes are present there. Now it have to be transported into the mitochondria. So that is how the second step is transport of fatty acids into mitochondria. The inner mitochondrial membrane is impermeable to fatty acids. So obviously there should be some supporter or carrier system to transport this activated fatty acid from cytosol to the mitochondrial matrix. And that carrier system is called as carnitine carrier system. Carnitine carrier system. And then coming to the third stage, that is beta oxidation proper, that is the beta oxidation process that is occurring in the mitochondrial matrix. And this is going to occur in four stages or four steps. What are those two? What are those four? One is the oxidation, then second one is going to be the hydration, then you are going to have again the oxidation, and then cleavage. So these are the four steps or stages that occur in the beta oxidation of fatty acids inside the mitochondrial matrix. So let's see that what is happening in the inner mitochondrial membrane. So if you see the first step, that means the fatty acyl CoA was transported into the inner mitochondrial membrane. Now each cycle of beta oxidation liberating a 2-carbon unit called as acetyl CoA. So as I said, this is going to occur in 4 stages, that is two oxidation step, that is this oxidation step, and this is also oxidation step, and a hydration step, and the last one is going to be called as a cleavage step. Okay, so let's see them. The first one is the oxidation step, where the fatty acyl, that is activated fatty acyl CoA, undergoes dehydrogenation by FAD dependent flavoenzyme, that is acyl CoA dehydrogenase. So this acyl CoA dehydrogenase depends upon the FAD, that is flavoenzyme, and this is going to be converted into FADH2, and which is going to enter into the electron transport chain, and that's how you are going to have the generation of ATP. Now this fatty acyl CoA is getting converted into trans-enoyl CoA in the presence of an enzyme called as acyl CoA dehydrogenase, and this step is going to be called as oxidation step. And then coming to the second step, that is occurring in the beta oxidation of fatty acid inside the mitochondrial membrane, is hydration step. Now this trans-enoyl CoA brings about the hydration. Hydration means getting in the water. Hydration of the double bond to form beta hydroxy acyl CoA. Beta hydroxy acyl CoA. Okay, now what is happening? The trans-enoyl CoA is going to convert it into beta hydroxy acyl CoA, okay, with in the presence of an enzyme called as enoyl CoA hydratase. Enoyl CoA hydratase. So what's happening? The fatty acyl, that is activated fatty acyl CoA, getting converted into trans-enoyl CoA in the presence of an enzyme acyl CoA dehydrogenase, and now this trans-enoyl CoA gets hydrated in the presence of an hydratase enzyme and giving rise to beta hydroxyl CoA. Now this beta hydroxyl CoA again undergoes the oxidation, that means dehydrogenation process, in the presence of an enzyme beta hydroxy CoA dehydrogenase. Okay, and in this process you are going to have the NADH generation. Again this enters into the ETC, that is electron transport chain, and you have the generation of 3 molecules of ATP. Now, what is the compound that you got because of this oxidation mechanism? That is beta ketoacyl CoA. This is the third step. That is beta ketoacyl CoA is the one which you got because of the oxidation of beta hydroxyacyl CoA. Now, this beta ketoacyl CoA undergoes the cleavage in the presence of an enzyme called as thiolase. In the presence of an enzyme thiolase. And this is the final reaction in beta oxidation and liberates a 2-carbon fragment, that is acetyl CoA, from acyl CoA. So you are going to have the two compounds, that is one is acetyl CoA and another one is the acyl CoA, and the enzyme involved here is obviously thiolase. And now this new acyl CoA containing 2 less carbons than the original one re-enters the beta oxidation fatty acid, and the process continues till the fatty acid is completely oxidized. Okay, so that means the acetyl CoA, what happens to this acetyl CoA? This acetyl CoA enters into the TCA cycle, that is our Krebs cycle, and liberates the carbon dioxide. But coming to the acyl CoA, which is having a 2 carbon less, okay, enters into the fatty acid, that is beta oxidation of fatty acid mechanism, and the process will continue like this. So, and this process will continue like this until you are going to have the complete oxidation of this fatty acid that was entered into the beta oxidation of fatty acid. So, this is how we are going to have the 3 stages of beta oxidation of fatty acid. The first one is the activation of fatty acid, and then the transport of that activated fatty acid into the inner mitochondrial membrane, and the third step is the beta oxidation proper of this activated fatty acid, which occurs in the 4 steps. That is, the first one is oxidation, the second one is hydration, again oxidation, then cleavage. And in the cleavage, finally we are going to get the 2 carbon compounds, that is acetyl CoA and acyl CoA. This acyl CoA again enters into the fatty acid oxidation, and this process will continue unless the complete oxidation of fatty acid is going to occur. Okay, so this is all about the fatty acid beta oxidation. Okay, so when we come into the picture, let's have a quick review what is happening compared to the membrane and the steps that we have seen. So this is the first step, and the second step is transportation, and this is the third step. See here, in beta oxidation pathway, the fatty acid is first activated with the coenzyme, forming a fatty acyl CoA. This is what happened, isn't it? And the oxidation of fatty acid CoA results in the release of acetyl CoA and the formation of a fatty acyl CoA shorter by 2 carbons. And the shortened fatty acyl CoA then undergoes another cycle of beta oxidation, and the process is repeated. In each cycle, a fatty acyl CoA is produced which is shorter by 2 carbons, and one in each cycle you are going to get one NADH and one FADH and one acetyl CoA. Okay, this we will see in the overall reaction, then you will come to know. Okay, and this FADH2 and NADH2 enters into the electron transport chain, and we are going to have the generation of ATP. Okay, let's come to the picture. So here is your carnitine system, and here is a long chain of fatty acids in the cytoplasm. They are getting activated, and that activated form of fatty acid is acyl CoA. Now this acyl CoA is going to be carried inside the mitochondrial membrane, that is inside to the mitochondrial matrix, through a system called as carnitine system. Now once this acyl CoA gets inside the mitochondria, so the enzymes that are present in this acyl CoA is going to start off the beta oxidation mechanism. So that this mechanism is occurring here. Okay, and this first stage, that is activation of fatty acids, are occurring in the cytoplasm, and the transportation is going to occur through the membranes by the system called as carnitine carrier system or carnitine transport system. So this is the overall picture. So what the first stage is going to occur here, and the second one is a transport system, and the third thing, that means the four stages, are going to occur in the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, so I hope so you have understood very well. Okay, let's see the overall reaction of this beta oxidation of fatty acid. So we had n number of carbons, okay, and giving rise to acyl CoA, and that is going to react taking one molecule of FAD and one molecule of NAD and water. That we know the hydration step is going to have the involvement of water and coenzyme A. And finally, we are going to get the n minus 2. Why I have kept here as a n minus 2 means when we are going to have the 10, for example, 10 carbons, you are going to have a loss of acetyl CoA, that is 2 carbons were lost. So how many were remained? 8. How did you get it? 10 minus 2. So here see, that means the next acyl CoA fatty acid is going to have 8, and that enters into the cycle again and giving rise to again minus 2, like this. This is going to continue until you are going to have the complete oxidation of fatty acid. And in the products, we are going to get the acyl CoA and then acetyl CoA, one molecule of FADH and one molecule of NADH. So this is the overall reaction of fatty acid. And coming to the fatty acids energy yield, for example, if I am going to consider this is going to be palmitic acid which contains 16 carbon atoms, okay, and that palmitic acid degradation is going to yield 2 molecules of acetyl CoA requires 7 beta oxidation cycles. That means the complete oxidation of palmitic acid requires how many beta oxidation cycles? 7, which finally results in the synthesis of, you can't imagine it, a synthesis of 129 ATP molecules. That means one palmitic acid, that is one fatty acid called palmitic acid, containing how many carbons? 16 carbons, will undergo 7 beta oxidation fatty acids and gives rise to 129 ATP molecules. Okay, so this is how we are going to get the much energy by the oxidation of fatty acids. So this is all about the fatty acid oxidation or beta oxidation of fatty acid. As I told you, we are having the 3 stages, that is activation of fatty acids, then transportation, then beta oxidation proper. Okay, thank you.